the media is co-opted. And so when you start to understand the retail game that you think you're looking at is not the game at all. In fact, it's a much sicker, devious game. And this is why I try to teach fifth generational warfare here in the United States to everybody, because that's your path to understanding what's really going on. You're not supposed to see your enemy. You're not supposed to understand what's going on. You're only supposed to be in a constant state of arousal and anger because there is no control.
Meet NordVPN. It's an all-inclusive cybersecurity and privacy kit for every day and everyone.
When tyranny becomes law, rebellion becomes a duty. So said Thomas Jefferson. Go to bit.ly/lawful tax protest or bit.ly/make war history and find out why it is a criminal offense to pay central government or local government taxes in the UK. Hi, Blaine. Thank you so much for making yourself available.
Well, what a thrill for me to be on with you. I have just been a longtime admirer of your podcast and your guests. And I'm like, man, when I grow up, I want to be crypto rich.
Oh, my God. That's very, very flattering. And for people who are unaware, right, or not sure, because this is the first time you've been on my channel, Blaine is the one in the picture without any hair.
Well done, you. And I even brought a UK dog to the picture there, since my parent Newsmax won't let me have my video on, but I appreciate the opportunity just the same.
Yes, well, thank you so much. Thank you for making the time available for this. Do you want to say just a little bit about yourself, because this is the first time you've been on my channel, and then a little bit about your background? Oh, and by the way, this is going to go out on my channels and also on your channels, Blaine.
Right. And that channel is Dangerous Intellectuals. On Twitter, it's at Danger Thinking, or at dangerousintellectuals.com is the website, and I appreciate you for that. My background is, I will call people, I'm a recovering one-star general from the United States Air Force. I did nearly 30 years, 27 in total, flying jets and doing exactly what I wanted to do, flying heavy airlifters around the world, 135 countries of adventures. Kyrgyzstan, I was the commander there during a bloody revolution. Wherever there was high adventure, I was there and loved it. And then I grew up to be a logistics director at European Command. I've had 4 European tours. I was a graduate of the Belgian Royal Defense College. And I finished up as the deputy U.S. representative to NATO. Jumped over Washington, D.C. I actually went into entrepreneurship and business turnarounds and applying my leadership skills to business. And I'm doing a startup right now, in fact, Xeriant, XERIANT.com. We're going to build a technology company. It's going to be great. And I'll tell you what, building companies in this financial environment is not for the squeamish, but we love doing it just the same. And I'm a contributor in foreign affairs on Newsmax. And that's what keeps me off the streets and out of trouble, or in trouble, as it were.
Right. Okay. Well, you're better off building a business in the United States than you are in the United Kingdom or the EU. I'll give you that.
Oh, I want to buy businesses in the United Kingdom right now because they're hurting so bad.
They are. They're going to. Oh, okay. Before I go off on that tangent, I just wanted to say something that I touched upon before we started recording, which is you and I. So I did mention to you beforehand, traditionally a very, very left-wing background, very anti-war background. I'm actually participating in a lawful, legal, anti-war tax protest. And it's propertyco.com or bit.ly/make war history, where I've withheld capital gains tax from the Inland Revenue, HMRC, in the UK on the grounds that some of this money is going to be used in violation of the Terrorism Act and the International Criminal Court Act. And this, I've been having back and forth with them for 2 years now, and not once have they threatened to take me to court. They just keep saying, give us the money, give us the money. I say, no, these statutes say I'm breaking the law if I do that, and you're breaking the law by asking me. So that's my background. And I'm a Muslim, but I'm a Muslim who for 10 years attended Quaker meetings. And one of the things that really appealed to me about the Quaker movement, one is they never asked me to become a Quaker. They knew I was Muslim. It's just how embracing they are of all ideas, and their stand for peace. Now, here I am talking to someone who was second in command of NATO, who was involved in the surge in Afghanistan in 2009, a retired Brigadier General. What's happened, Blaine? How come we're talking even?
Yeah.
How did I end up here?
Well, the first thing is, let me commend you on standing up and taking action, because it requires all kinds of moral courage when you stand up and push back on an absolute evil machine. that sends people senselessly into meaningless wars. And so I think if you're looking for a debate with some sort of neocon, you got the wrong guy on the line with you today. But what I will tell you, but what I will
Definitely
tell
not.
you is I definitely, over the course of my career, do what I would call, from a Christian metaphor, which is a Saul to Paul conversion. And what that means is, over the course of 20 straight years of warfare, everything in my career from Mogadishu, Bosnia, Iraq, Afghanistan, but all with the same common denominator. Someone sends us and has no earthly idea how to get us out of it, and there is no end plan. And then I started understanding and studying a little bit more deeply about neocons, their banking puppet holders, and I definitely remember I was already quite observant about these things when one night in the European command post, as I was leading logistics for the Defense Department for the European theater, we had an event called Benghazi. And
Yes.
that's where mentally I made such a profound shift. I was well on my way to my second star, and I actually quietly looked for the exit off the stage, going to Brussels to finish up my military career. I didn't want to make a kerfuffle about it, but what I saw was the most ugliest of things that you could possibly see, and things that I still can't talk about to this day. But that required me to get more into the thinking about who's doing this to us, who is the enemy here, what is going on, and where does this corruption end up at, and why are we just casting so many innocent lives into this meat grinder? And you don't need a better example than to look at the Ukraine-Russia war, now over 2 million dead. And we don't even have a sense of global outrage in the media because the media is co-opted. And so when you start to understand that the retail game that you think you're looking at is not the game at all. In fact, it's a much sicker, devious game, where, and this is why I try to teach fifth generational warfare here in the United States to everybody, because that's your path to understanding what's really going on, is you're not supposed to see your enemy. You're not supposed to understand what's going on. You're only supposed to be in a constant state of arousal and anger, because there is no control. And I love what Alex Krainer says on your podcast, which is, look, the true puppet masters cannot be named. We like to call them City of London or some other type of consortium, but they have memberships that go from the CCP all the way to Al Qaeda and beyond, and they don't know a religion or anything else. They just know that they desire control. And putting red ants and black ants in the jar to fight each other as you shake them, none of the ants, and that's us, tend to look up and ask, who's shaking the jar? Because if we ask that, we might start looking at the red ants and the black ants and going, hey, we don't have a real reason to fight each other here. And that's what I see happening around the world. So I guess you could call me one of the very few United States general officers who actually woke up out of the nightmare that they wanted us to subscribe to and be a part of.
Wow, Blaine, thank you so much. That's very moving. I'm moved by what you said, because I think what I hear in what you said is our common shared humanity. And those that rule over us, that would profit, who are out to strip mine us of our liberties, our freedoms, our wealth, our families, our culture, our religion, our traditions, they don't want us to connect and get that we have a common shared humanity. So
That's
again,
exactly right.
thank you so much.
I learned the life-changing assignment for me, Rich, was in 2009. I was sent at gunpoint to a place called Kyrgyzstan. I had flown in there in my jet many times. It was a logistics hub in Central Asia, servicing the Afghan theater. And I had been there when the wall fell in the Cold War in 1992 in a relic aircraft, the C-141. We called it the Tube of Pain. But
The wall fell in 1989, if you mean the Berlin Wall.
yeah, it did. We started opening up Central Asian countries and embassies around 92.
All right.
So when I got that assignment, I was a little bit upset that I wasn't getting my dream shot to return to my jet, the C-17 in Charleston, South Carolina, and here's my big path. I'm going to a place where the corrupt regime just kicked the Americans out. I'm going to an eviction notice, and I got to figure out how to not only stay there, but I had a whispering in my ear that when you go there to command, not only will you fix that problem, we're going to do the Afghan surge, and you're going to be responsible for 98% of the logistics. Well, I got there and I found out from the Kyrgyz, we had been piling a bunch of money in there. And I found out from the Kyrgyz, my Kyrgyz advisor, beautiful 70-year-old Uzbek woman who spoke Kyrgyz flawlessly. And I said, why are we not getting to stay with the parliament? We put millions of dollars into this country every year. And she said, well, I'm going to be blunt with you. We hate your guts. And I said, aha, now we're on the right track. So we got some honesty. We hate your guts. Why do you hate our guts? And what it was explained to me was a classic ugly American type situation. We kept all the airmen inside our little fortress, and we had little engagement except for high-level government officials that were all corrupt mafiosi messes, and they were manipulated by China and Russia, and here we are at the end of the rope with this. And I went there, Rich, thinking I had a military problem. I got to get the tanker pilots all ready for war. I got to get the logistics going. No, I had a cultural issue. So for 3 months, Valentina and I did intensive Kyrgyz study. I learned Kyrgyz. I'm fairly decent at languages. And I started making speeches, not at the government officials, but to school kids, to women, to building women's programs, to starting entrepreneurship. And what that did was that got us to a place where the bad day came and the corrupt regime had a massacre. They plowed down 70 Kyrgyz. They injured 2,000. And it was all those relationships we built at the grassroots level over that time that not only allowed us to stay there, but to install the interim government and put the Kyrgyz country back together again in a really good way. And then they let us keep the base a few more years so that we could do the mission that we were assigned to do, not whether it was a wise thing to stay in Central Asia or not. But those relationships endure for me today. So my boss, General Petraeus, he came to me and said, you're my number one counterinsurgency commander. And I said, no, I absolutely am not, because I'm not doing counterinsurgency. I don't have to wear Kevlar when I go outside the base gate. What I have to do is bring an open heart, compassion, understanding, and seeing things through Kyrgyz eyes. And then there's no insurgency. I remember one afternoon when the mayor of Manas village, where our base was, he said, I got a political problem in the north. You got to come help me. And that's where we got to. I went up there to, in Kyrgyz, make a case for this mayor that he wasn't such a bad guy with the village elders. And they were like, okay, you make some good points. But in the course of that year, my brain went from solid military ops, be the best at your mission, into if you're going to be effective anywhere in this world besides your home country, it's going to be language, culture, and seeing things through their eyes so that you can develop whatever the best plan is going to be to find a win-win situation, not just I'm American, take the money, and I'm going to go do what I want. That absolutely cannot work, and we have to get away from that model. And I see these things repeating over and over and over again, and what we have to do is break that paradigm.
Yes. Wow. Well, there's something else that you had your attention on, I think, where I'm asserting, which is relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's all relationship. We are the most pro-social of all mammals, and how we access resources is through relationships. And I'd say the other thing that happened, Blaine, is you channeled your inner social worker. So
yep, I did.
You and I are not that different then.
No. That's why when people try to hang a political dogma on me, am I conservative? Yeah, on a lot of things I am conservative. I love the United States Constitution, and I love the protections it offers. But that love of liberty also lends itself to things that liberals would actually embrace. So I am open-minded to a whole variety of things. I don't wish to seek control or domination over anybody, and I think social workers are a real good idea.
Yes, as long as they stay within their guardrails. I'm going to go to politics in a second. I just want to say that, certainly in England, there's this notion that we just walk into homes and steal children. It's really, really difficult to remove children. Thank goodness. And we have to try everything but that before we do that. So we don't, now of course, imminent danger, we call the police and the child is released, right? Is rescued. But so that we don't violate the sanctity of family, because there's nothing to replace family. And there's so much going on with fifth generation warfare.
Right.
That's being played at us, that destroys family. The LGBTQ plus.
That's it.
And
you got it.
That destroys family. Open borders destroys family.
Yeah.
I'm in England. I'm in a Christian nation. They're out to destroy Christianity, which I think is reprehensible.
It is, and culture.
And yet,
culture is the enemy.
Yeah. Okay. So Say something about the. I wasn't going to ask you this, but you did mention it, fifth generation warfare. What do you mean by fifth generation warfare, and why is it such a big deal?
It's a big deal because we don't recognize, ordinary citizens around the world don't recognize that they're on the battlefield, or that they are a target, or that they're in any way, shape, or form being targeted, but they are. And fifth generation warfare is everything all at once, and you are moving through timelines now. If you just look at the news cycle, you're moving through timelines where the news stories, even hot ones, don't last longer than maybe a few hours, and it's all by design. They're using media, they're using manipulation ops, they're using weather, they're using cyber attacks, they're using, and now with AI coming on, they're using grand deceptions that look so authentic, and people are meant to be kept in a higher state of tension, stress, anger towards their fellow neighbor about anything. Anywhere in the world, in the West especially, you can find it. People will snap. You bump into somebody's shopping cart and they're ready to go to war with you. And it's because of the information warfare environment, the psychological operations warfare environment. And then the thing that people don't realize, because there's so much confusion, angst, whether it's financial, pandemic, warfare, civil, revolutionary, global, what they don't realize is they don't take time to go look into all of these countries and find out that all of these operations are identical and they're all happening to us at the exact same time. So I can put you in a California school, and the state believes that the state has more authority over your child than the parent. Well, guess what? I can take you to Southampton, England, and do the exact same thing. I can get you into Sweden, and I can take you through the exact same exercise. When the bad ones come up with their talking points through the media, it doesn't matter what country they're in or what language, they're all the same exact talking points. So what does that mean from a military standpoint? It means there is, in fact, a central command authority issuing guidance and issuing edicts. And then you get little glimpses of their war planning. So look, I would tell you guys like Keir Starmer and Barack Obama, they're middle management. They're not even senior management. But when you look at them meeting openly at number 10 Downing like 3 times in the last 45 days, then what you can see is that, well, they're nervous. They're worried that their plans aren't coming to fruition, but also that they are active. And this is where these guys formulate or get their you will do this now. And a lot of people think, well, if City of London is such a bad thing and all these rich, wealthy families, I mean, the real rich, wealthy families, people think Elon Musk is the wealthiest guy in the world. He's not even close.
No.
The ones who pull the strings, they don't even live in London. What a great camouflage that is. They're in Dubai, they're in Brunei, they're in Qatar, but they're the only ones that are in London are on assignment there, like a Keir Starmer, who's junior management, and that's the fifth generation milieu. But what it's designed to do, while we're all distracted at all times and sometimes angry with each other, they're doing what they really want to do, and they already told us what they want to do, and it's all there at the World Economic Forum website. You can read it on the UN 2030 agenda. They want enslavement, they want total control, and they want depopulation. And you've got to, if you cascade yourself all the way down, most freedom-loving peoples who are just trying to put some food, clean food, on their kids' plates, they don't have time to look up at that stuff. They just know that, man, it's rough out there. And here we are in the United States on the eve of potential massive, massive civil unrest. The government shut down. The food welfare is about to be non-funded, and if they don't get it funded over the weekend, you're going to see riots across this country on Monday through Friday. Like, everybody's going to say, "What happened in America?"
Okay,
but that's
I'm going to stop
all
you
from
there,
the same place.
I'm going to come to that. I do want to speak about that before. Just something on the fifth generation warfare.
Mm-hmm.
So, what makes you such an expert on it? By the way, this is as rude as I'm going to get.
No, you could be ruder. I know,
but it's not my style.
Anything? Oh no, it isn't your style, because I've watched a long time. But the place where I come at this from is, first and foremost, in most of my senior military career years, I'm a strategist. And so, as I'm a student of all the great strategists, including Sun Tzu, but that's just one of many. Ralph Sawyer's Art of Deception on China was really quite formative for me. But but also I have an extensive counterintelligence background, and so. And even to this day, as I work sourcing for news reports that I'm going to be a part of or some of my reporting, I work with the types of planners that know what fifth generation warfare is very well and how to interpret signals and understand when an operation is underway and how they're multi-layered. And so I have really geared myself and prepared myself over the last 20 years to understand this environment. And gosh, I hope I can get one of these books out, but I have a 10-book series in fiction that I'm writing, because I don't think you're able to really truly teach fifth gen warfare unless you do it by storytelling. And one of the stories, when I get up and talk in front of a group and I'm trying to kind of get at this, I'm like, well, let me give you an example. So in Lubbock, Texas, there's a gal. She works for an IT company installing servers, and she's on her way to work. She's a little bit late, but you know what? We realize she's always a little bit late. She's heading to an intersection. What she doesn't understand is all of the lights in the intersection turn green at the exact same time. She got hit by a truck. She's now going to be late for work, and she gets fired. Now, the next thing that happens is a Texas Tech student down the street from her gets a phone call from the exact same company and says, "You were at the top of our list. Could you come in and get trained up on installing things really quickly?" He brings some printed circuit boards with him. They happen to be in his lunch bag. And after he's trained up, he's going out to the oil Permian Basin to swap out a server that's gone errant, that was somehow taken out, maybe by a hack, cyber, nobody knows what happened. And now he changes the card out. And at the exact same time, there's a congressperson who's booked a flight out of D.C. because he's got to get away from a particular vote that is very necessary and incidental to the oil and gas futures of the Permian, as an explosion happens later that afternoon. Meaning, if it's fifth-gen warfare, it can come from any direction. And then look at the 4 years of open borders in the United States. Yeah. We've got thousands representing the PLA, the GRU, Tren de Aragua, every terracell on the planet. And they're linked. And so Americans are fooled into thinking foreign wars stay foreign. But if an adversary wants to get at us, how hard is it for all of the Chinese and their agricultural land here to put drones up, to get at your water, to get at your grid on Main Street, and make it look like it's perfectly natural and nothing happened? So these are the layers. And I keep trying to teach as many people as I can, because a lot of them then wake up and they set aside the mainstream media and they go, "Holy crap, that's a weapon aimed at me." It's like, yes, it is.
Blaine, that's so good what you said. Thank you so much. I'm going to say a few things, if I may.
Please, I'm a blowhard. Sorry.
No. I don't often, right? Because but just to amplify and add to what you've said. So I read Jared Diamond's book. I think Jared Diamond, The Day Before Yesterday. And he talked about warfare in Papua New Guinea amongst the hunter-gatherers, which was really just with sticks. And there was one account passed down, I suppose, through word of mouth. There was a fight between two villages, and then it started raining. They all went home.
Right. That's right.
They fought with sticks. And then human beings invented swords and axes, and then we invented muskets, so we fought with muskets, then we repeating rifles, and then tanks, and then airplanes, and now drones. But also now, as technology has evolved, new weapons emerge. So now we kill people with injections. Now we kill people by misleading them, by tricking them into thinking that there's something wrong with them, and they need chemical or physical mutilation in order to be the person that they're really meant to be. I mean, how brainwashed do you have to be to begin to doubt your own sexuality, what's programmed into virtually every single cell in your body?
You need two things. You need to co-opt the education system. And then what you need to do is you need quantum physics and a deep understanding of it to hit people with the right frequencies. And then you can do anything you want.
Oh, you are very interesting, because my question was rhetorical, but I like your answer, right? I'm going to carry on. Right? You said you're a very bad man, Blaine, because I know we have a hard stop, right? I just want to tell you you're a bad man for having a hard stop, okay?
Okay. Guilty as charged.
Okay. one of the things I do as a social worker is, when I find out what's going on in the house, I look at my job is to look at it from all sorts of different angles. This is
Right.
what the dad says, the mum says, the kids say, the older kids, the younger kids, the teachers, the doctors, the police, all of that. So I get lots and lots of different perspectives rather than just going for the noisiest, loudest perspective, which is usually the abusive man, sometimes the
Right.
abusive woman, and then playing that out on a much larger scale. We are being assaulted. I mean, just some of the policy changes in the UK, all sorts of regulatory and attacks on farming, the
Right.
climate change agenda,
Yep.
depletion of energy, what's going on in schools, this child and welfare bill, where the state will have more say over children than parents do in the absence of any abuse. The
Mhm.
assisted murder bill, or it's called the assisted, I don't know,
Yeah.
assisted murder bill. That's what it
Yeah.
is, right?
Different name in every country, but it's all happening at the
Yeah,
center point.
and what I saw during lockdown was how come all these countries with seemingly disparate political parties in power were all doing the same thing? Obviously, there's somebody above. And then when you
Right.
say they may not be sitting in the city of London, they may be lurking in the shadows in England somewhere.
Yeah.
But we don't
They
get to
phone it
see
in.
the owners of it all.
They phone it in, and you can tell because all these things are happening and they're replicated all across the Western countries. They perfected some of this stuff in China, but I think I look to China as a source of optimism. Here's why.
Mhm.
Because China's much more advanced in this diabolical Klaus Schwab laboratory. Klaus did let it slip out that he admired the Chinese system the most. Why would that be? Because they were the first ones to get digital ID, social credit scores. They're now into CBDC, and they have total surveillance recognition. They can pretty much identify any citizen anytime that they want. So what does that rot them? They have destroyed their economy. They're in the throes of the CCP has got its back against the wall, trying to hang on for dear life. I know dear E.M. Burlingame would disagree with me on this because we always disagree on China. But the point being is, if you want to look into a crystal ball and find out where does this go to its end state, look at the Chinese people themselves, because they've never been more emboldened. When you can't feed your kid, suddenly nothing else matters, and your possessions don't really tend to matter much anymore. And I think that that's the advanced state where all this takes us. But then here in the United States, what we're trying to warn people about is, hey, if you want to find out what your future is with these things, go look at UK, go look at the rest of Europe, because they're ahead of us by one standard deviation. And the only thing that has interrupted the script here in the US is the Trump phenomena. And you can love him or hate him. It just doesn't really matter what you think of him. But he's the one president that we have had that I can tell that never got anointed by Chatham House or the Royal Institute. And he's pretty much kicked dirt on some of the special relationship. And he is a disruptor. Well, that's given us time here to kind of catch our breath and maybe try to claw our way back into it. But don't think for 5 seconds that we're out of this fight, because we have our own problems. We've got flock cameras. We've got Palantir surveillance. We have fed now all those precursors to do that totalitarian lockdown that is centrally commanded by the shadowy ones. They're all here. But what I love, and what I love how you opened up this discussion between us, is you started with freedom. And you started with your love of freedom and why that's so important. And it doesn't matter whether you're left or a killikami for your mommy righty. It just doesn't matter if you have a love of freedom. And that's what I say here in the United States is, first off, if you want to learn more about things in Washington, D.C., there is no aisle. They're all working together in the same thing. It's defend the swamp. And then the second thing is we the people is a global concept. It is not a U.S. monopolistic concept. We the people is a people of citizens, whether you are in Central African Republic, whether you're in Uzbekistan, whether you're in the Netherlands. It's freedom-loving, yearning people, and then a small scant few amongst them who say, I will not yield here, and I will take this fight. And I'm seeing more and more of it, and I'm encouraged by it. But that means they're turning off the mainstream media as well.
Yes, and those that stood up and said, no, where are we having those injections? I don't care, not having
Amen.
them, not having them.
Right.
That wasn't easy, but it had to be done. I mean, the alternative was much worse, I think.
Oh, yeah. I'm unemployable anyway, so the good news is I didn't have to worry about it.
Yeah. I mean, you haven't said, but I did have you as one of those anti-vaxxer types.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
You know, the U.S. military over the course of my career stuck me some 54 times. Everything from anthrax to
Oh,
all the other stuff. And so when the new shot came out, I went, whoa, 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 whoa! What's the rush? Hey, hey! I didn't think they developed them this quick. What are we doing?
that's right. That's really fun. That's really good. That's really good. And I think many of my family know that about 2 years ago, I went to Sierra Leone. I had I think it was yellow fever or injection or something. I had to have one to get into Sierra Leone, and I decided to take it. But that was very different from the mRNA injections.
Oh
Now,
yeah,
moving on to the United States. So on the one hand, there's this one side that says Trump's an emperor and he's going to bring in martial law
sure.
and then destroy the Constitution and do a third term. And that's absolutely true because he's the worst ever. No wonder, no wonder he didn't get a Peace Prize, whereas Barack Obama, his Peace Prize was well deserved. Actually,
Oh yeah.
he should have given it back after what he did, right?
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
then just a slight aside, he's the only Nobel Peace Prize winner to bomb another Nobel Peace Prize winner because he bombed Médecins Sans Frontières. It was
Right.
an agency that had won the Peace Prize. He attacked them.
Right. That's right.
Way to go, Obama.
Yeah,
Now,
nice
so
job.
on the one hand, they're saying that Trump is an emperor and everything, and he's going to destroy the Constitution and enslave everybody and ruthless autocrat. They don't really provide any substance to this.
No, they never do.
Yeah, and like the no kings. Okay, no king. Well, he's not a king. But then what? What's your agenda? And then on the other side, there's what you're saying, and I think what the Trump side are saying is that we need to prepare because there's going to be major unrest. Some of the Trump's team are moving into military bases.
Yeah.
He's ordered 500 troops in each state to be ready.
Yep.
In case of violence, there's National Guard moving about. Come on, what's going on?
Yeah, so going to Trump's opposition, and again, they cloak themselves in a label called the Democratic Party. They're just communists. And honestly, there's communists sitting in, or co-opted people sitting in Trump's party, the Republican Party. I'm very fair. I hate both squads, but the big thing is,
Blaine, sorry. How can you say the Democratic Party aren't democratic after they anointed Kamala Harris?
oh my gosh, where would we be right now if Comrade Harris was in
Also,
charge?
there was no democratic process.
Oh my gosh, my dear friends on podcasts and stuff, when they're like, Trump this, Trump that, and I'm like, you could have Comrade Harris. You could have that. How would you like that cell you're being right now? You think you'd get 3 squares? They'd all have mRNA in them.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
so the thing is, you've got all these. This is what the mainstream media has done, and they haven't been checked. Is they have made talk of violence and threats of violence by elected officials normal now. And where I would advise the Trump administration is, if you don't check that, it will grow. And what they're doing is they're normalizing it in these cities. And whether it's a demographic issue, whether it's an illegal migration issue, there are lab petri dishes in every major city that all you have, the kindling is so dry. All you have to do is spark them. Take away their food cards. Tell them we don't like Muslims. Tell them we're not going to have this group of people in our town anymore. You give me the city, and I'll tell you how they're dividing up people against each other and getting them ready to have massive violence. And so this is getting back to the 5th generation war thing. What Americans think a civil war looks like is a bunch of guys wear gray and they like slaves, and a bunch of guys wear dark blue and they're the good guys, and everything will be fine if they just win. And they all live in centrally located places, so there's actually battle lines. That's not what 5th generation warfare is. It's inability to discern, gray area out the butt. I thought this guy was good, they're not good. This political assassination isn't what it looks like, but I thought Trump was the good guy, and now his FBI is lying to us about it. Whatever it is, but what I think President Trump rightly recognizes is that we are going to have law and order in the country by some fashion or form. And to those who think he's a king, listen, if the man wanted to come in on day one, declare martial law, activate the military, lock down everything, lock up everybody, he could have done it. But he didn't do that, what they are attempting to do. And trust me, behind the scenes, I'm very critical with them via my contacts on the team, because I'm always critical of strategies. But what they're attempting to do is keep a tourniquet on this bubbling cauldron that is directed from offshores. And then the other part of this is there is no accident or no lack of coincidence that he has declared a war on the cartels. It's not that where people make their mistake is, oh, U.S. is going back for a war on drugs. It's like, no, it's not that. It's if you think about the cartels, forget the countries they hail from, forget where they live. They are the veins and the arteries to every illicit activity, going all the way up to the shadowy ones that we're not allowed to say their names. They money launder and they take care of human trafficking and prostitution and growing and doing narcotics and the fentanyl thing and all of that. But the cartels have their tentacles in everything. And this is the thing, when you disrupt an adversary's way to sustain themselves in their supply chains or with their money, you have now impassioned that enemy to fight. And by taking on the cartels, think of that game Jenga with a big Jenga tower. The cartels are that bottom block, and President Trump is ripping at it right now. But here in the United States, the cartels and all of their affiliates like Hezbollah, Trendearagua, all the PLA and everything, they're on every single main street in the United States of America. So there's more of them than there is of us. And if you add up all the military, you add up all of our police, fire, first responders, there's more of them than there is of us. So what President Trump is preparing for is that when cells get activated here as a result of what we're doing to the cartels and eliminating their assets and eliminating their ability to move money around the planet illicitly, shadow banking, private banking, Caymans, we're going to have a hell of a problem here. And so President Trump's trying to lead turn that with his team. I am lovingly trying to help them with some of the holes that I see in their strategy. But hey, they haven't turned me off or deleted me, so they're still listening. And it is, I'm not accusing President Trump of being the #1 genius on planet Earth, but I will say that it is a chess game, and it does take more than just him. And I have had dinner with him. We have talked about NATO and those things. This was a couple of years ago. He's not. Everybody says, "Well, he's not smart at all." It's like, I would check yourself on that. In person, first off, he's delightfully engaging, very humorous, and I think that what you see in the public, a lot of it's a mask that he uses quite well.
Yeah, but also it's there's how he's presented and portrayed by a mostly hostile mainstream media.
Oh yes,
and you don't get to be president twice over as an outsider with the enemies and agencies and organizations that have been railed against him in opposition to him, unless you've got some acumen.
Yeah.
And then I've said this, you will have heard this, but for those on your channel who don't follow my work, is it's like Muhammad Ali with his first fight against Sonny Liston. Everybody's like, Ali's going to get killed against Liston because he's just 18 years old, and Ali acted crazy. He acted like an insane man, which terrified Liston, threw him off kilter.
Yep.
And he was actually Cassius Clay at the time, but I think he became.
No, I remember the fight. I've gone back and watched it.
It's fabulous fight. It's on YouTube, by the way. The following day, he became Muhammad Ali. Up until that point, he was Cassius Clay. But and Trump does the same. He throws people off kilter, and people fall for it and think it's the real deal. Drop their guard, and before you know it, he's outsmarted them.
There's many times when he'll say something, I'm like, he doesn't mean it. It's like when we were talking about Tomahawk missiles, and now we're talking about it again. It's like, nah, that's not happening. The thing is he's adapting to a 5th-generation warfare world. But before people underestimate him, look at what happened in what I'll call the off-season when the autopen took over the United States. In the off-season, they tried to kill him 3 times. Yeah. They tried to bankrupt him. They tried to lock him up. They went and locked up a lot of his team. They did all that. So when you talk about somebody who's got resilience, head on a swivel, and knows how to survive, well, I think he's proven that. And it doesn't mean we're going to have a happily ever after. And so what I caution people here when I speak here in the United States is, hey, look, you've heard it. There's a thing called Trump derangement syndrome, TDS. Okay, that's real. It's true. It doesn't matter how much I want to go into a person in Chicago and go, hey, listen, it's not as bad as you think. I'm going to get shot in the face. Maybe literally. And there is another malady out there which I caution people on, and that is TCS, Trump complacency syndrome. And what Trump complacency syndrome is, oh, yeah, no, we got Trump now. We're fine. Everything's good. We don't have to do anything. We're fine. And it's like, no, kids. No, you're not paying attention. He's one man. Yeah. It can be helpful right now, a lot of this stuff that we see him doing. But what you better do is get your stuff in order, take care of your family, and really, really, really make your neighborhood and your community a priority, because that will make the difference for you up or down. And I mean that on a global basis. Absolutely. Your community and your neighborhood will determine your outcome.
Absolutely. We've got to make our own efforts at our level. Okay, now I just want to say he is flawed, and there's things that he's done that I don't agree with. You know,
Yep, me too.
moving the embassy to Jerusalem, the annexation of the Golan Heights by Syria, the long time he took to resolve the Gaza issue, which still isn't resolved. But who knows? I have no idea what he's had to deal with, and you know the paths that he have to negotiate and travel
Mm-hmm.
along to be able to do all this with those that are the people in his administration, no doubt, who are out to kill him and destroy him.
Right.
But that doesn't take away from what I think is really clear. If people look keenly, his commitment to no war.
Yes.
You know, just the
If he
peace.
can pull that off, if he
Yeah.
can pull off getting the United States out of a militarized foreign policy, which has been our foreign policy since World War I, if he can get us moved out of that to a demilitarized foreign policy where the United States military is a deterrent force, not a at war 24/7, 365 like you read about in Starship Troopers, then that alone will have served this nation and this planet very well. But
Okay.
you're right. He is covered up in folks that I would love to see fired in 5 hot seconds. It's
Now,
frustrating.
I said this in my last video with Susan, Alex, and Tom. By the way, we do those monthly now, at least for the foreseeable future.
I love them. That's a great
They
group.
are fabulous, aren't they?
Yep, yep.
Fabulous.
Good mix.
I have a hunch, and it is just a hunch, that before his term is out, he's going to withdraw or certainly reduce the US involvement in NATO. Just a hunch and a prayer as well. Please, dear God, let that crumble and die like the European Union and this current administration in the UK.
That's quite a prediction. That's quite a prediction. And so you're saying that to a guy who was the deputy United States military representative to NATO, has held 4 NATO posts, was the director of the multinational logistics coordination cell at NATO, who used to bleed NATO blue. You're telling this to me?
Well,
I will tell you, I am all for it.
Yes. Well, you're actually going to say, Rich, you're on the money there.
I know. You are on the money there. And the reason is NATO lost its way when it switched out of being a defensive alliance, which I had always agreed with. People used to throw rocks at NATO, and I was like, wait a minute. Europe has been involved in nothing but constant warfare for thousands of years. So you're telling me that all these nations that are forced to sit down and face each other and talk 5 times a week is a bad thing. Well, those were the good old days. Those were the pre-9/11 days. And now we have an offensive alliance that broke all of its commitments to not grow itself. We see nefarious actors out of both our countries, maybe a third, that have used NGOs in an unsavory way to create all these revolutions and these color revolutions and upending things. And maybe that's charming at the think tank circuit in D.C. or in London, about how we upended Georgia this week, or Sudan, or whatever. But these are real people with real lives, and that's where I think my Kyrgyzstan experience really grounds me in terms of, I watch these people die in my hands,
Yeah.
and I remember. This is an emotional story for me, but I remember right after the massacre in Alatoy Square in Kyrgyzstan in 2010 in April. And we were doing everything we could. We had the relationship. So I had C-130s around the clock flying in, sutures, pallets of everything they needed to do the emergency operations, 5 hospitals. We had every identical, not just stupid US aid, here's a Band-Aid and some gloves. It was the exact stuff they needed, and our surgeons all talking together. So we're saving lives. I went into the hospitals, and a Kyrgyz hospital is not as what you would think about hospitals. It's the 187th poorest nation in the world. And so I went in and I was giving gifts to some of the survivors of the massacre. And this 16-year-old boy, he looked like he was 12 because he was so malnourished. I came in and he recognized me immediately because I was kind of a known figure in Kyrgyz everything on TV and that type of stuff, and speaking Kyrgyz around the country. So he said, Polkovnik Holt, it's you. And the young boy, still wearing the sweater he was shot in, he reached out to hold my hand, and then he said, I'm never going to wash my hand again because I've touched the transit center commander's hand. And I said, wow, I just want to thank you, and you're so brave. And he ripped his sweater over his head, and he wanted to show me where the sniper had hit him in the clavicle with a 7.62 round. It cut through his body, by some miracle missed the organs, and exited out his calf. And he smiled broadly at me, and he's not even on really narcotics because they didn't have morphine or things like that. And he smiled at me and he said, "We got the bad men gone. We're going to be okay now. Our country's going to be fine now. Aren't you happy?" And I looked at him in the eyes as mine were tearing up, and I thought, and later on in my prayers, his life is never going to be the same. He'll never walk the right way. He'll not enjoy the same type of life that a normal adult male could enjoy. And yet here he is being an optimist. And I just thought that afternoon, as I went back to my office, I went, you know, God, if he can be an optimist in moments like that, then what right do I have to a bad day for the rest of my life? I don't. And so whenever I find myself getting really angry about things, I go back to his face and I look at him and I go, I got it. I got it. Life's not that bad for me. But what I can do is tell your story, and what I can do is help dissuade other peoples from being so cavalier about turning a spade on these countries and just thinking, well, it's like a big game of Risk. This is what we do. Now we're going to get Georgia. Now we're going to get Armenia. Now we're going to cause problems down in Sudan. And I'm looking at the massacres now in Sudan and in Nigeria. You won't find them on any mainstream news channel, but they're killing thousands. They're killing thousands, and they're doing it in the most brutal of ways.
It's horrific. It's horrific what's going on in Sudan. And then also in Nigeria, it's horrific where extremist Muslim groups are killing Christians.
Yeah.
This is not what Islam is about, but it's been perverted by the imperialists for their ends.
That's right.
To destabilize Nigeria so Nigeria never gets to flourish and fulfill its potential as an oil-rich nation.
That's right. That's exactly right. And I've flown all through Africa. I've been to 41 countries in Africa. And you find these unique cultures and these amazing people, and so filled with hope when they have nothing. And that's by design, because that's what get back to the shadowy overlords. They have been you can call them colonials, you can call them banksters, you can call them City of London. It doesn't really matter. They have attempted to subdue, subvert, and control these people. And when they're done with them, they kill them. And they might do it with an extremist force, but it gets back to that powerful metaphor that Alex Kreiner gives us all the time with the ants.
Yep. And what we need to do is we need to come together as ants, like leafcutter ants, right, and build a whole new world.
That's exactly right.
Not theirs.
Yeah. Go find a red ant, make a friend, and go, we're actually we actually are okay with each other. we're not each other's problem.
Absolutely. Well, from one social worker to another. Right?
There you go.
Blaine, do you want to let people know? Thank you so much. And just to let you know, you are coming back on.
Great. I made the cut. I can come back.
Yes. And I even said it publicly. People, whether I come back on Blaine's channel is a whole other matter.
Nope, all the time. You are definitely a dangerous intellectual.
People should subscribe, follow, like, do all that business to him and to me. Where can people find you, Blaine?
So come to find me at X. You can find me at Danger Thinking, or you can come to my website, dangerousintellectuals.com. Our network news in America, Newsmax, I have a column I write usually once a week in the Insiders page. It's called The Irascible Disruptor. And, I'm always up for a debate, always up for a discussion, but be careful. I might just agree with you.
Okay. All right, Blaine. Thank you so much. Absolute joy. Everybody, thank you for watching and listening. Please share this far and wide, subscribe, all that business. This is Rich and Blaine signing out. Thank you. Last thing, bit.ly/makewarhistory. If you're in the lawful tax protest. Thank you. All the best. Bye-bye.